Go into my disaster of an office.
Walking through Major General John Borling's Rockford house.
But this is
and you will see the things closest to his heart.
Where I hang out with flying suits and with my Bell collection and my bullfighting stuff.
Items that the decorated Air Force veteran has gathered from a lifetime of service to our country.
Do things that can make a difference in this world.
Service that has brought him all over the world.
And so there's a thing from Vietnam over there, which is Dinh Quan, which is a pretty famous Vietnamese artist.
Each item, it has a story. But ask him about his most cherished possession. A picture with a story and a message. Over 50 years in the making. It was June 1st, 1966, in the heart of the Vietnam War. John Borling, a young Air Force pilot, was shot down over Hanoi, Vietnam.
Got all broken up in the process, broken back, ankles were sprained, couldn't walk, blood everywhere. I'd gotten out low and fast.
The 26-year-old was captured, stripped naked, and taken here, the notorious Hanoi Hilton, along with hundreds of other POWs.
It was a very brutal and ugly time.
Tortured and kept in complete isolation.
You were living in a very confined space with no ventilation and just a light bulb and a loudspeaker that played propaganda.
Borling and the other POWs were desperate to communicate with each other. But how?
We needed to maintain our resistance. We needed to have a chain of command. They called us war criminals. They were threatened to execute us.
He and the other POWs developed a way to communicate through a series of taps based on this. A certain number of taps meant a different letter in the alphabet.
You had to make your mind a useful tool.
They were able to communicate for years with this method.
I wrote poetry in my mind. I taught French through the walls. I learned Spanish through the walls.
For Borling, his story is not defined by the letters he received.
Never had a letter. Didn't know if my wife knew I was alive.
His story is defined by the letters kept from him.
And I got loose from the things they had me in, enough that I could scoot across this cell. And there was a desk there, and I got into the drawer of the desk, and it was full of letters. And I started going through them at a great rate.
Guards came in and saw what Borling was doing and tried to stop him. But not before one letter caught his eye.
The last thing they ripped out of my hands was an envelope that had a peculiar stamp on it. It was a man on the moon. This was 1970. When did we go to the moon? 1969. I tapped on the wall, "We own the moon."
That proud message was passed from one POW to the next and to the next until it spread all across the prison camp like wildfire, lifting spirits and igniting hope.
I can't tell you how much it meant, how much it meant. Carried us for years that we own the moon.
Years later after his release, Borling was working in the White House.
Morning meeting, and I'm sitting across from Harrison Schmitt, Jack Schmitt, Apollo 17.
Borling went on to tell him the story of the years that he spent as a POW, how he found the letter of the man on the moon, and how that inspired him and hundreds of POWs to maintain hope in prison.
Well, he stands up and he comes around and, gives me the big hug and starts crying, and I'm a tough guy, so I start crying. Later that afternoon, Jack Schmitt sent a picture to my office, and it was him on the moon with an American flag and an Earthrise coming up over his shoulder, and the inscription, "Glad we could help, Harrison Schmitt, Apollo 17. Isn't that what it's all about, helping?
They say a picture is worth 1,000 words.
And we carry it with us now.
For Major General John Borling, the spirit of this picture,
it's one of my favorite things,
represents more than simply words can describe.
One of my favorite things.